I want to tell you about a student. I'll call him Devin. Devin was the kind of kid who always was just a little bit on. Not explosive, but just really, really nudgy, always in motion, tapping the desk when I needed quiet, leaning into the kid next to him at just the exactly wrong moment, making a comment under his breath that was just loud enough for about 3 people around him to hear. It wasn't anything big to stop the lesson over every time. It was just, well, I'll say it, annoying. It was annoying enough to make me feel like I was losing my grip on the room. And my reaction to Devin, my instinct every single time, was to redirect. Call him out, name the behavior, apply a consequence, and then just move on. And for a while, I told myself that it was working because Devin would stop for about 4 minutes and then that nudginess would start again. Until the day I decided to do something completely different. And that is what I want to talk about today. Hey friends, welcome to Enjoy Teaching Again, the podcast for teachers who love the work but need a little spark to bring the joy back. I'm your host, Elizabeth Peterson, classroom teacher, arts integration specialist, and passionate educator of over 25 years. If you're overwhelmed by behaviors, disengaged students, and long, exhausting days, you are not alone. But together, we can turn things around and you can teach with confidence and purpose again. So locate that cold coffee of yours, find your favorite pen, I know you have one, and let's dive in. It's time to get inspired and enjoy teaching again. I know what it feels like to lie awake at night thinking about that one student you can't quite reach. You start to question yourself. You wonder if you're doing enough. You wonder if you're caring too much. And still, when you go back into that classroom, you're not sure if that student or your entire class is even going to receive what you're trying to teach them that day. It's a lot. It's a lot. And the fear of burnout is real. The thought of, can I really keep doing this? That's real. And I want you to hear this. You're not the problem. You know how to be a good teacher. And you certainly don't need someone telling you what to do. You really don't need a new program to implement, and you certainly don't need a new initiative. What you need is a reset. There is a way to teach that feels calm and creative and connected to who you are as a teacher. There's a way to get back to that feeling that you had when you first started teaching, that feeling of hope and excitement and smiles and getting really excited to go in and set up your classroom for the day. I know because I'm there again. I know because I've helped teachers get there again. And listen, you don't have to piece this all together by yourself. Let me help you. If something inside of you is whispering, yeah, I think I might need this, listen to it. Go to theinspiredclassroom.com/reset. Check it out and see if this is something that you think might help you. We're going to work together to reset your classroom and protect your love for teaching. If you listen to the last episode 144, it's called You Know How to Teach, but Classroom Management Sure Has Changed. I talk about 3 specific things that I'm watching in today's students right now that are genuinely different than what we've experienced many years ago, and why the tools that we've been reaching for were really never built for the room that we're actually standing in and teaching in. I think the shift that I made with Devin says so much about what classroom management actually requires now. And I think you're going to recognize some of what I did and some of what I was thinking. So, Devin, for weeks, I was redirecting him. That was just my go-to. I would redirect, I would give a quick consequence, and then I would repeat. And here's the belief that's kind of underneath that pattern of redirect, consequence, repeat. One that I didn't even know I was still holding on to until I stopped myself long enough to look at it. I thought that if I respond to the behavior consistently enough, it will stop. If I give out a consistent consequence, Devin will just understand and the behavior will stop. This is what I believed. I think it's what so many teachers actually believe. Consistency, a consistent response will give you a good result. Except Devin wasn't changing. And then one morning when I had him in class, I caught myself mid-redirect and something just stopped me. It was a thought. And I thought to myself, okay, what if the behavior isn't the problem? So instead of redirecting Devin for the 20th time, I just went over to him. I squatted down next to him while the rest of the class was working on something else. And I assured him, you're not in trouble. And I just told him I wanted to check in with him. And I asked, how's it going? It wasn't about the behavior. It wasn't about all the tapping or the comments or the nudginess. Just, how's it going with you right now? Are things okay? And Devin looked at me like he wasn't quite sure what I was doing. And then he told me about something that was actually happening. It was something that was happening at lunch for the last few days. He had a falling out with a friend and he had been going on for a couple of weeks. It wasn't really dramatic or anything, just this underlying feeling that he was having about, feeling like he didn't quite have a place in the group anymore. And it was affecting him. He had been carrying it into my room every single morning, and I had been responding to that like it was something he was doing to our classroom, like he was misbehaving on my watch. That conversation, it took less than 2 minutes, and something changed after that. Devin started settling when he came into my class, not being nudgy, but actually he was quieter. And I realized that what I had been missing with him for days wasn't a better redirect. It was just this 2-minute, simple, intentional, and heartfelt question that I asked him, how is it going with you? Now, here's what this taught me. And this is the thing that I want to really kind of sit with here with you today. I had believed that redirecting behavior was how I was going to manage the classroom. But what Devin taught me is that redirecting that behavior consistently, correctly, without ever asking what's going on underneath it, can actually make a classroom a little harder to manage. It's truly about being reactive versus proactive. When I was redirecting constantly and giving these consistent consequences, it was always in this idea of responding to the behavior, just constantly responding instead of taking a moment, stepping back, and being a little bit more proactive. He didn't need a consequence. He needed to know that I still saw him, not just his behavior. And when I redirected him, what his nervous system heard was, you are a problem and I need to manage you. But when I sat next to him and I asked how he was doing, what his nervous system heard was, it's okay. You still belong here. I got your back. And belonging, really belonging, the kind that a student can feel, it's not something you can redirect your way into. It's something that you built 1 2-minute conversation at a time. I feel like we teachers, we can get so sucked into the everyday business of our classroom that we can tend to forget how important it is to really take that step back and look at what's going on. And not just look at what's going on in our classroom, but look at how we are responding to what's going on in our classroom. And there's no shame in that. That's okay. We're human after all. But I'll tell you, that moment with Devin, I looked at my classroom differently. It was like, just that one moment of reflection that I needed to get myself back on track. I started asking a different question when a behavior showed up. And the question was actually more in my mind. So I wasn't asking, okay, what do I need to do about this behavior, about this issue, about this kid? Instead, I would think, are you ready for this question? Which leg is this? Here's what I mean. I think about a stable classroom like a tripod, okay? There are 3 legs: connection, regulation, and engagement. And all 3 have to be holding for the room to feel the way that you want it to feel, the way it should be feeling. You want a calm classroom, right? I know you do. But if even one leg is wobbly, the whole stool will tilt. And behavior is what the tilting can look like. With Devin, it was a connection leg. He didn't feel like he belonged in the room that week. Not because he didn't like school or because he didn't like me, but because something had shifted in his little social world and he was carrying it into my classroom. And I hadn't noticed yet. The connection leg of the tripod was a little wobbly. And let's face it, no consequence was going to fix that. It was either going to delay behaviors or actually make them worse. So now when a behavior shows up in my room, I really try to remind myself to pause and ask that type of question. Which leg is this? Is it a connection moment, right? Does the student need to feel seen right now? And you can ask these other questions too for the other legs of the tripod. Is it a regulation moment? Is their nervous system asking for something before they can do anything else? Or is this an engagement moment? Is the work itself part of what's shutting the student down? So 3 legs: connection, regulation, and engagement. Find the leg that's wobbly and respond to that. Instead of responding to the tapping or to the comments or to the nudginess, respond to what those behaviors are trying to tell you. And that instinct that made me want to pause and sit down next to Devin instead of just going right back to redirecting him, that wasn't something I learned in a book. It wasn't a strategy from a workshop. It was the 20 plus years of being in a room with children and learning slowly how to read what a kid actually needs. That instinct is yours too. I know you have it. It's in there. In the years, in the relationships that you've built, in every kid that you've stayed for and stayed with. What I see in teachers who are struggling right now isn't a loss of that instinct. It's just exhaustion that buried it. So when you're redirecting 30 times a day and nothing is changing and you're bracing yourself at the door before you go into the classroom every morning, you may not have the space to ask, okay, which leg is this? You're just trying to get through the day. And I understand that. I've lived that. But here's what I know from the other side of it. The teacher who sat next to Devin was not a different, better version of me. It was the same teacher, just with enough breathing room to hear the question underneath that behavior. And that's what a reset actually gives you. It gives you the breathing room, the framework that just quiets that daily chaos enough so that your instincts come back to you. Because your instincts are good. They've always been good. They just need the right conditions to really do the work. Now, my free reset roadmap walks you through the entire framework in one place. It's 5 steps, all the podcast episodes linked in so that you can go as deep as you want on any piece of the roadmap. It's free and you can get it at theinspiredclassroom.com/roadmap. The link is in the show notes, but you can just go to that URL as well. I want you to start there and see which leg of your tripod the framework speaks to first. Now, the next time Devin shows up in your room, because he will, they always do, before you redirect, just pause just for a couple of seconds and ask, okay, which leg is this? Connection, regulation, or engagement? And you might not know the answer right away, and that's totally fine. The question itself is the beginning of a different kind of classroom. You're not too tired for this. You're not too far gone. You're exactly the teacher that Devin needs. You always have been. All right, I'll see you next time. I hope this episode inspired you, encouraged you, or gave you a fresh idea to try. And if so, I would love for you to take a screenshot and text it to one of your teaching buddies. I'm so grateful that you landed here with me today, and it would mean the world to me if you would leave me a review over on Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. This is Elizabeth Peterson reminding you to get inspired so you can be inspiring to your students and enjoy teaching again.